Today we're talking about law of cosines. And so law of cosines has a formula, and so the formula is as follows. Should be 2bc. So it's a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc times the cosine of angle A. And you're going to use this version of the formula when you're solving for angle A or side A. And then the second version of this is as follows. So b squared equals a squared plus c squared minus 2ac times the cosine of angle B. And this formula is going to be used when you're solving for angle B or side B. And then the third and final form of this formula is as follows. So c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2ab times the cosine of angle C. And you'll use this formula when you're solving for angle C or side C. And so now we're just going to review how to label a triangle. So if we have triangle A, B, C, side A is going to be opposite of angle A, so right here. Side B is opposite of angle B, so right down here. And side C is opposite of angle C, so right there. And so there's two scenarios when doing the law of cosines. And so we're going to start with scenario number 1. And that's when you have side, side, side. And so that means that all sides were given. And so if we're given the following triangle, that's not a triangle. And it's A, B, C, and then you have 8, 5, 12. And our goal here is to solve the triangle. And so to solve this triangle, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to solve for one of our angles. And so I'm going to start with angle A because it's the first one alphabetically. And so step 1 is solve for angle A by using law of cosines. And so if you refer to your 3 formulas, to solve for angle A, you need to use the a squared equals formula. And so now I'm going to substitute all of this in. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to label the triangle. So this is A, this is B, and this is C. And so it's going to become 5 squared equals 8 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 8 times 12 times the cosine of angle A. And I'm going to start simplifying this. I'm going to simplify this in groups. So I'm going to do 5 squared, 8 squared plus 12 squared, and then negative 2 times 8 times 12. So 5 squared is 25. 8 squared plus 12 squared is 208. And then negative 2 times 8 times 12 is negative 192, and then times the cosine of A. And now I'm going to try to isolate the cosine of A. I'm going to start by subtracting 208 from each side, which gives me negative 183 equals negative 192 times the cosine of angle A. And then I'm going to divide each side by negative 192. And so I end up getting this decimal equals the cosine of angle A. And so if you remember from previous days that to solve for a missing angle, you have to do the inverse. And so we're going to do cosine inverse of our decimal. And that's going to equal A. And so we're going to find that A is approximately 17.6 degrees. And so we can then come up here and we can label angle A as 17.6 degrees. And so now that we have angle A, we're going to solve for angle B just because that's next. And so to solve for angle B, we're actually going to use law of sines. So step 2 is solving for angle B by using law of sines. And you could use law of cosines here if you wanted, but I personally feel as though law of sines is easier than law of cosines. So since we're solving for angle B, we're going to use sine of B over side B equals, and we have angle A, so we're going to have to use sine of A over side A. And so now we're going to substitute in our values. So we're going to have sine of angle B, because we don't know what that is, over side B, and side B is 5, equals, oh, I did that backwards. Side B is not 5, side B is 8, over sine of angle A, which was 17.6, over side A, which is 5. And now we have a proportion here, so we can cross multiply. So we're going to do 8 times the sine of 17.6 equals 5 times the sine of B. And then we're going to divide each side by 5. And so you find that 8 sine of 17.6 over 5 is equal to sine of B. We're going to put that all in the calculator to get ourselves a decimal. And so we get approximately this decimal is equal to sine of B. And then again, we're solving for an angle, so we have to do the inverse. So sine inverse of our decimal is equal to angle B. And so that tells us that 28.9 degrees is approximately angle B. And so we can come up here and we can fill that in. And then lastly, we need to solve for angle C. And we can solve for angle C by using the fact that we know a triangle sums to 180 degrees. So we can take 180 and subtract our other two angles. So step 3 is solve for angle C, and that's going to be using a triangle angle sum. And so we're going to do that angle C is going to equal 180 degrees minus 17.6 minus 28.9. And when you do that, you get C is 133.5 degrees. And so we can come up here. And so now we have everything in our triangle solved for, so we're done. So now we're going to move on to scenario 2. And scenario 2 is side angle side. And side angle side is when you have an angle between two sides. So if we have the given triangle, A, B, C, and we're given that angle A is 46.5 degrees, and then we have 18 here and 10.5 here. And now we're going to label the triangle. So this is side A, this is side C, and this is side B. And so we're going to start by solving for side A. And we're going to solve for side A by using law of cosines. And so what means we're going to use a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc times the cosine of angle A. And we're going to substitute in all of our values, so we don't know a, so that's going to remain a squared. We know that side B is 10.5, so it's going to be 10.5 squared plus 18 squared minus 2 times 10.5 times 18 times the cosine, and angle A here is 46.5. And so from here, what we want to do is we're going to just put all of this into the calculator, and we get that a squared is equal to 174.05. And so we need to get a alone, so we're going to take the square root of each side. And when we do that, we're going to find that a is equal to 13.2. So we can come over here and we can fill that in. So we can say a is equal to 13.2. And so next I'm going to solve for angle B. And so step 2 is going to be solving for angle B. And I'm going to solve for angle B using law of sines, because again, I think that law of sines is easier than law of cosines. Since we're solving for angle B, we're going to say sine of angle B over side B is equal to, and then we have a pair with angle A and side A now, so we're going to use sine of angle A over side A. So now we substitute everything in, so we don't know angle B, so sine of angle B over side B is 10.5, and that equals sine of angle A, and angle A is 46.5 over side A, and side A is 13.2. From here, we're going to cross multiply, so we're going to do 13.5 times sine of 46.5 oh, that says 10.5, not 13.5. So 10.5 times the sine of 46.5 equals, and then we're going to cross multiply 13.2 times sine of b. And now we're going to divide each side by 13.2. And so we get that when you do that in the calculator, you're going to get the decimal. This equals sine of b. And then remember, to solve for a missing angle, you have to do the inverse. So then we get sine inverse of our decimal is equal to angle b. And so we find that angle b is approximately 35.2 degrees. And so then we're going to go fill that in. And so lastly, we need to solve for angle C up here. And so we can solve for angle C by using this angle sum formula, because we know that they total to 180 degrees. So step 3 is solving for angle C using your triangle angle sum. And so we're going to say angle C is equal to 180 minus 46.5 minus 35.2. So you get 98.3 degrees. And so then we can come up here and we can fill that in. And so now